Hey there and welcome back to another House of the Dragon video. And we finally worked our way through the episodes and arrived at the season finale, episode 10, The Black Queen, which shows the perspective of Rhaenyra's faction in the aftermath of the death of King Viserys and her younger brother's coronation as king, usurping her place as heir. And after a very good episode 9, I was hoping that episode 10 would not disappoint, and it did not. It was very good. And honestly, I'd go as far as to say it's one of my favourite episodes of the season, filled with a lot of great scenes and moments and capped the series off nicely, whilst also making me a bit depressed that it's going to be another 2 years until we get any sort of follow-up for this. But anyway, with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So we start off the episode with a cute little scene that contrasts nicely with the scenes of Alicent and Aegon the episode before. Lucerys is afraid that the sea snake is going to die. He has doubts about his ability to be a great lord of a noble house, and he feels utterly unprepared to be an admiral of a fleet. He gets seasick. He has limited fighting and command experience, and he simply lived his life as a prince, doing nothing much. But instead of belittling him and calling him entitled and selfish like Alicent did to her son when he didn't want to take the throne, Rhaenyra kisses him on the head and cuddles him and tells him she's going to help him out, that she'll be the one to teach him how to rule and she'll protect him. And this episode really does go hard on forging that bond between Lucerys and his mother, just to hit you with that epic dose of heartbreak at the end of the episode when he dies. And really, this feels like the last moment of all of them being a happy family with no real stress on their plate. They're just at peace with the world in this moment, but then of course, Rhaenys arrives and all hell breaks loose on Dragonstone, as she reveals that Viserys is dead and the Greens have usurped the throne, which sends Rhaenyra into premature labour, whilst Daemon slings around theories that Viserys was murdered by the Hightowers. And he also gets quite unhappy that Rhaenys didn't slaughter the entire family when she had the chance. But she claims it wasn't her war to start. And you know what? Fair enough. Why the hell should she make herself damned across the kingdoms for kinslaying just to aid Daemon and Rhaenyra? Let them do their own dirty work until the war actually begins, and then she probably would have no choice. And it's at this point that sadly Rhaenyra goes into shock and starts giving birth very prematurely to her daughter Visenya. And yeah, another childbirth scene. What can I say? I do not envy pregnant women watching this show, not one bit. And whilst this is happening, Daemon starts planning the war. And yeah, the episode seems to frame this as a bad thing, at least at first, but I actually think he's doing the right thing here. He's ensuring they don't get murdered by assassins. He's protecting them. I mean, this is literally what Otto had planned for them in the first place. He wanted to send people to kill them straight up. He's simply seeing to the island's defences. I mean, I see him cop a lot of flack for not being there for the birth, but yeah, preventing their 7 other kids getting slaughtered has to surely be a high priority right now. I mean, he fucks up a lot later on, but here, he does the right thing. And whilst this is all going down, for some reason Jace is beating the shit out of his little brother Luke as they train on the beach. Nothing like a good bit of brotherly love, I suppose. I'm not sure Harwin Strong would approve of such harsh methods. Looks like he's picked up a thing or two from Sir Criston after all. Anyway, the boys get summoned inside to talk to Rhaenyra, who tells them what's happened and charges Jace to stop Daemon from plotting his war until she's birthed her child and is able to be present for any and all discussions. Of course, we see Daemon is not going to listen to that, and he's taken charge, overriding both Rhaenyra and then Jace, even as his wife screams for him to come and be with her during the birthing. And yeah, he doesn't do that, because now he's sending out feelers to ensure the support of his allies, and even plans on flying out to the Riverlands to try and gather up as much support as he can. He then takes Jace out to frighten the Kingsguard a little bit, and ensure that they'll remain loyal to Rhaenyra's cause by reminding them that if they betray him, they will die screaming. Just another day working for House Targaryen, I suppose. I too would feel very loyal to people who threaten me with death by incineration. Although I suppose I did like that they showed that the dragons have a bit of a mental link, I guess, with their riders. Both in this scene, where Caraxes plays bad cop for Daemon without any spoken signals, and then again when Rhaenyra is giving birth, and Syrax is screaming alongside her. Either way, Daemon's looking pretty badass in this scene, getting you hyped up. Only for all of that hype to get shattered as we sit through a scene where Rhaenyra's daughter Visenya is stillborn. Honestly, that birthing sequence, it's great acting all round from Rhaenyra to the midwives. They all did great, but god damn it, all the close-ups on the gory dead baby made my stomach churn. Had to pause it. Ugh. And the blows just don't let up, as then you have to sit through both parents' reactions to this turn of events. Rhaenyra wrapping up her daughter's body for the cremation and sobbing over it, whilst Daemon, well, he needs some time alone on the beach. And then there's the funeral, and it's very sad. And there's been great cinematography and scoring for this episode all the way through, but the funeral scene hits different. especially when Sir Eric of the Kingsguard arrives with the crown of King Viserys, and it's just epic shot selection, perfect soundtrack, and such emotion. That moment we can see on everybody's face that it's sinking in that this is real. The king's dead, there's his crown, and the realm is on the cusp of war. And then the hype just starts to build and build from here, as we get to see the painted table get all lit up and the Black Council assemble to plan the war. And honestly, I very much enjoy when they deep dive into all the political situations and talk about their armies and numbers and allies. It's all a lot of fun, and it really ups the immersion in a way that Game of Thrones rarely tried to do, preferring a more streamlined story and world. But anyway, we see that the Vale and the North is likely going to be on the Black side, whilst the Riverlands and the Crownlands will likely still be divided, with it also being noted that the Stormlands could go either way at this point. Plus, they're also really depending on the Velaryons just straight up forgiving the murder of their son, and they're taking them for granted at the moment, just assuming they'll support them. Meanwhile, the Westerlands and the Reach seem like they're a loss for them at present, and I guess nobody wants to talk about the Iron Islands at all. One of the lords then says, "Fuck this, stop talking about soldiers and let's talk dragons," which prompts Daemon to pretty much usurp the council and straight up tell Rhaenyra what the plan will be. Not discuss it, but just tell her what to do. Before discussions are then interrupted by the arrival of Otto bearing terms from King Aegon. And so, in a scene that kind of bookends the start of this debacle back in episode 2 quite nicely, Otto and the Targaryens meet up on the Dragonstone Bridge, which again suffers as yet another dragon lands on it and smashes it up. At least the stonemasons are likely living well off all the work they have to do to rebuild the castle when the dragons land on it. But yeah, unlike last time, Otto is no longer on Rhaenyra's side, and is instead here to offer generous terms, which amounts to stay here quietly and don't kick up a fuss, and you get to keep Dragonstone and Driftmark. Your sons will get high positions in court, and we won't kill you. Hooray! Yeah, honestly, I don't like him, but Otto did outplay her completely and utterly. She just assumed everyone was going to follow her father's wishes, while she dithered about for 6 years in the middle of the sea. But they've since pulled off an epic coup using all the symbols of the kingdom that they could. The crown, the sword, the name of the first king, anointed by the faith in King's Landing in front of the whole city. And then on top of that, they even bring a page from the book she read with Alicent back in like episode 1, just to double down on that manipulation factor. And it seemingly kind of works as Rhaenyra decides to actually consider the proposal she's been offered, which leads to a very Daenerys-esque scene where she tells her council that she doesn't want to rule over a kingdom of ash and bone, and if they truly fight their war with dragons, the realm is going to burn. It's her duty as the queen to prevent that happening, and thus she'll consider every possible solution, even surrender. And that's really just to set up even more parallels with the Greens. They sat around for years saying Rhaenyra as queen would lead to war, but now they're the ones who are the warmongers. Ones that advocate for violence, whilst Rhaenyra is the one that wants the realm to be at peace. But yeah, hopefully she doesn't stick too close to the Daenerys parallels, eh? Otherwise, King's Landing's probably in trouble. Anyway, Daemon doesn't really like the idea of peace, and accuses her of being too much like her father, weak and foolish and stuck ruminating on dreams. And so, when she tries to mention the prophecy of ice and fire, he indulges in some good old-fashioned domestic violence and throttles her. And then the stans went wild and started bombarding social media, talking about character assassination and begging George R. R. Martin to step in and stop the nasty writers from ruining their character and their creepy incest ship. But yeah, George is on board with this apparently, so that part did amuse me. But yeah, turns out a guy who smashed his first wife's skull in with a rock can be a violent partner. Who knew? Although I did enjoy she goes on to straight up mock him because her father never told him about Aegon the Conqueror's dream, and therefore never truly viewed him as his heir. Which of course just leads to him storming off. What a dweeb. Although something does tell me that people are just going to straight up forget about this little fact and go straight back to shipping them for season 2, but oh well. We follow this up with a scene where Rhaenys finally rips Corlys a new one for being a pretty shit husband, and then tells him to support Rhaenyra because I guess Rhaenys thinks that since Rhaenyra advocated for peace, they should just let bygones be bygones in regards to the death of their son. And honestly, I know they're locked in on this from a lore point of view. She always joins the Blacks. But in the show, her character motivations don't make much sense to me. It's all over the place. Plus, she suddenly seems to care about protecting Jace, Luke and Joff. I didn't even think she liked them. Oh well. Either way, he goes to the meeting, and after a quick fake out where he calls Rhaenyra a princess for dramatic effect, he declares himself for the Blacks, and announces that since he has the Stepstones garrisoned, they now essentially control the Narrow Sea completely, which in turn means his fleet can blockade King's Landing. But beyond that, they still need allies. and so Jace and Luke are sent out as envoys for their mother to bring terms to the Vale, North, and Stormlands, whilst Rhaenys guards the Velaryon fleet as they begin the blockade of the Gullet. Rhaenyra then farewells her sons, with a particular focus being put onto Lucerys, showing how scared he is, frightened of what's to come, nervous about his duties, and also focusing on how small his little dragon is compared to the others, barely big enough to ride. As soon as you see that, the despair just kicks in, because you know this kid is dying in the twist ending of the season. Damn. We then get a cool look at Vermithor, one of the riderless dragons who's going to get claimed in Season 2, in a scene that doesn't really do much other than make Daemon look badass again, try and rehabilitate his image somewhat. And then it's off to Storm's End for that big climactic finish, where Luke arrives amidst a raging storm, go figure, and as he lands and heads towards the castle, he sees Vhagar appear, like it's a horror film. And honestly, that's the moment you just straight up leave and you tell your mum, oh yeah, Vhagar was there, sorry. Or better yet, fly to some other random lord's castle and stay the night there and try tomorrow. But yeah, he tries his best, but the Lord Baratheon, who can't read it seems, decides to go with Aemon's offer instead and sends him away, as he's going to marry one of Lord Baratheon's daughters, whilst Lucerys can offer nothing as he's already betrothed. And so of course he's rejected and told to leave before Aemond approaches, taunting him and ordering to cut out an eye, as compensation for his own. Lucerys refuses, they both leave, and there's a really epic dragon chase through the storm where Aemond seems to be trying to freak him out and make him stop to put out his own eye, before they both lose control of their dragons to start to fight, and thus Aemond accidentally kills him when Vhagar goes rogue and eats Arrax way above the clouds, spitting out the pieces to fall to earth. Well, that's a pretty big oops moment. And so, it turns out this entire civil war is going to start based on accidents. First with Alicent mishearing what Viserys was saying, and now this. So yeah, Rhaenyra does not seem like she's going to appreciate this much, judging by the final scene of her finding out that her son's dead, and her face looking like Daenerys just as she's about to burn down King's Landing. Bad luck greens. And so yeah, that's the end of the episode, and the end of the season. See you in 2 years, I suppose. It's been a great redemption for the end of Game of Thrones, and I'm really looking forward to more. And so with all that being said, these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode and the season itself? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.